Moved and seconded. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Michelle, do we have any lobby visitation?
Yes. First one is Mary Dennis.
If you'd give us your name and address, please.
Yep, Mary Dennis, 161 Everly Avenue.
Thank you.
Thanks. Solar Energy and Community Resilience submitted on behalf of Kathleen Dennis, member of BG Songs Board and its Climate Action Team, chair of Songs Community Development Committee, and new housing team leader. The recently adopted Bowling Green Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan clearly outlines the impact climate change has had on our community. It also provides necessary resiliency strategies to help us withstand the impact. Included is the use of renewable energy sources such as solar power, which can support BG during extreme weather emergencies, including sheltering a portion of the public, recharged cell phones, preventing food spoilage, cooking food, running furnaces or AC units, recharging vehicles, and powering gas pumps and servicing ATMs. Appendix 3 of the Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan identifies 5 climate-related risks to Bowling Green that can disrupt power. These include floods, droughts, tornadoes, winter storms, and heat waves. Many cautionary tales from past events showcase the catastrophic effect these events have had on an unprepared community. I personally can attest to the impact of the blizzard of 1978, which represents the level of increased severity of storms expected with climate change. This event included a power outage of several days, dwindling food supplies, and the almost complete elimination of vehicular travel throughout the city. Distributed solar power would have supplied some of our community with essential power during those days. Nationally, extreme weather events are increasing in frequency and magnitude. In 2010, 2019, and 2021, I personally experienced devastating flooding in Nashville, Tennessee's Mill Creek watershed. 2 of these were due to an atmospheric phenomenon known as an atmospheric river and directly attributable to climate change. This was the first such time an event was recorded in the area. The devastation, loss, and damage of property and death was astounding. Daily life ground to a halt, power was lost across the area, and cleanup continues to this day. Other communities have experienced similar catastrophic events, and scientists are virtually unanimous in attributing these phenomena to climate change. As we continue to alter our atmosphere, these events will further increase. Our resiliency will be directly dependent on our ability to sustain power during these events. Local power sources, such as distributed solar, can be one of the best defenses under these circumstances. There are more immediate reasons for increasing the use of renewable energy resources. Regulatory changes are expected to diminish or eliminate available energy from the Prairie State Coal Burning Facility. Solar can fill in this gap. Similarly, power acquired from hydroelectric plants can be replaced by solar. Reducing the use of both will eliminate the cost of transportation. Lastly, this region is expected to see substantial growth in population as our climate continues to warm. Increasing the use of local renewable energy resources will be a more economical way to facilitate the needs of the expanding community. I recognize that the Board of Public Utilities has had the foresight to include solar energy options as a portion of the city's energy portfolio. I am very appreciative of these efforts toward energy diversification. However, I see a real need to extend this effort. Currently, coal is the main source of energy in BG at approximately 51% of our diversified resources. The world must push for extensive reductions in the burning of fossil fuels if we are to maintain reasonable global temperatures. We have an obligation to our children and grandchildren to initiate change that will leave them with a livable planet. Stop and think about this. We as a community are dependent on the burning of fossil fuels that are spewing pollutants into the air in a community 550 miles from our town. It troubles me deeply that the energy I consume in my household in BG is contributing to the poor air quality and most likely respiratory illnesses and potentially even early deaths of another community. Resiliency is ultimately about health. We must strive to create a community that supports the health and well-being of all people. Implementing rigorous programs that use renewable energy sources is essential to this healthy and prosperous future. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
Rose Drain.
Again, if you give us name and address, please. Thank you.
I'm Rose Drain, and I live at 228 East Court Street. I have a copy of my presentation, so I'll share that with you when I'm finished. First, I have a message for you from the Board of BG Song. The Board of BG Save Our Neighborhoods group recognizes and expresses appreciation for its climate action team's extensive work in researching and preparing these presentations, and respectfully encourages the Board of Public Utilities to give the team's work thoughtful and serious consideration. I am offering information on what other Ohio cities are doing to support rooftop solar panel installation for commercial and residential properties. First, with the City of Dayton, I contacted the city's sustainability manager, Meg Maloney. The Sustainability Office there extends its support to residents and businesses by offering guidance on transitioning to solar energy and other sustainable practices. The City of Dayton is using funding from the Inflation Reduction Act received in 2024 for a Solar for All program to install solar panels on 1,000 qualifying homes within the city. This program, administered in partnership with the Dayton Home Repair Network, is currently in the application development phase, and the city will roll it out in the fall of this year. The panels will be installed on both homeowner-occupied and rental properties, and rental property owners will not need to pay a share of the cost, but having the solar panels will certainly benefit the lower-cost utility bills of both homeowners and renters. The City of Dayton does not have a surcharge for solar panel users on their monthly electric bill. Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Akron will also be doing a Solar for All program with the same federal funding. Meg made this recommendation. For your city, I would recommend hosting a solar co-op through Solar United Neighbors. If people add solar to their homes, they will get a discount through Solar United Neighbors through a bulk purchasing co-op. The City of Westerville, comparable in size to Bowling Green, Westerville has a rebate program to encourage commercial installation of rooftop solar. Like Bowling Green, Westerville operates a municipally owned utility. I communicated with Ryan Culkins, the city's energy solutions engineer. The rebate program for commercial properties has been in place for 5 years. To date, when I talked to Ryan, only one business had participated. The intent of the program is to help assist small to medium businesses move forward with solar. And at the time I talked to him, his department was currently analyzing improvements to the program to increase participation in it. The program was not offered to residential customers because the city feels that there is a very strong residential solar installation pipeline without additional incentives from the city. The city offers a net metering program and provides 1 full credit at the current residential rate structure. No surcharge is applied to solar customers. The Village of Yellow Springs, like the City of Bowling Green, the village owns and operates its utility system. Solar billing adopted in 2019 is friendly to rooftop solar panel customers. The per kilowatt hour for electric consumption is 11 cents, and solar customers receive a credit of 0.0989 kilowatt hour for electric put back into the grid. If there's a net surplus at the end of the year, the village cuts a check to the solar owner. Net electric credit is carried over, meaning that excess power generated during the hot months can be used to offset the electric bills in the months that follow. Yellow Springs is currently undertaking a microgrid solar installation project that is intended to benefit residents of a lower-income apartment building in the village. Some more details on that are with what I will hand out to you. The Village of Yellow Springs does not offer any incentives for solar installations, nor does Greene County, but neither does it impose a surcharge. Of the 3 cities that I have contacted so far, none has a surcharge for customers that have rooftop solar panels. Mariah Williams with Ohio Solar Neighbors United, SUN, said that a surcharge on the electric bill for rooftop solar panel owners does, of course, discourage rooftop solar investment. As far as she knows, Bowling Green is the only city in Ohio that has such a rider on their municipal electric bills for solar owners. Most electricity providers welcome the diversity of energy supply from rooftop solar, especially since these small systems attach to the distribution side of the grid. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Michelle?
Jacqueline Nathan.
Thank you.
There's someone not here today, right?
Yes.
You want me to leave one?
Sure, we'll take them all. Thank you.
Oh, can't read unless I have these on.
Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Jackie Nathan, Jacqueline Nathan, 13541 Union Hill Road in Bowling Green. So I am not an expert in this field. You should have a handout from me already. But I have been trying to read and learn about solar power and its usefulness in improving long-term energy resiliency. My goal at this point is just to briefly review the remarkable changes that have occurred in the last 10 years with solar power. Formerly, there were 2 main types of solar energy projects. The first were utility scale projects having at least 10 megawatts capacity and ranging way up from there. For example, Xcel's Sherco Solar facility in Minnesota has a capacity of 710 megawatts. The second type in the past were the ones we all know of as distributed or rooftop solar. And those are the arrays that you see on individual homes and businesses. And they tend to range from the tens to the hundreds of kilowatts, so considerably smaller. What's new in the last few years is a third type, and that is intermediate scale solar projects in the range of 1 to 5 megawatts. And there are sort of 3 types that have evolved of those. First, and this is the one that kind of excites me, is community solar projects. So these are networks of distributed solar within a local community. Homes and businesses pay to subscribe to the local network, which helps to subsidize its costs. In return, they receive a credit on the utility bill. So this ultimately reduces the need for the local utility to purchase additional power. As of 2024, 23 states and the District of Columbia have permit community solar. Both Ohio and Montana currently have bills in the legislature. They've had 7 readings of our bill so far, and it's slowly proceeding. The second type of the new solar arrangements are virtual power plants. These combine networks of distributed rooftop solar with banks of storage batteries, both of which are owned by the customers, and they're purchased with the assistance of various grants and loans through the previous mentioned nonprofit group called Solar United Neighbors, SUN. A virtual power plant improves resiliency in the face of environmental threats to traditional power sources. Okay, and the third one I'm going to talk about is SEUs, and that's a sustainable energy utility. And this assists customers in reducing energy use and obtaining rebates. Creating microgrids within a community using solar and geothermal power can help to prevent a community-wide power failure. An example of this is our neighbor to the north, Ann Arbor. Finally, communities are utilizing brownfields or other unused or underused land to construct community solar arrays in that 1 to 5 megawatt capacity. Our new recently passed Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan discusses removing and replacing abandoned industrial sites in BG to reduce urban flooding and the impact of heat waves. Designating these for community solar would be a very positive alternative. In conclusion, our city needs to investigate these new renewable energy developments so we can create long-term sustainability. I would love to be able to contribute to this goal and utilize solar power in my own home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie.
Michelle?
Joseph R. DeMar.
Name and
evening.
address, please.
Yes, Joe DeMar, 517 South Main Street, Bowling Green, Ohio. So we're asking the Board of Public Utilities to end the electric facilities charge added to the bills of solar panel owners in Bowling Green. 4 years ago, the utility board made a decision to place the surcharge of $4 per installed kilowatt per month on rooftop solar. There has now been ample time to address the effects of that surcharge, both intended and unintended. Much has changed in the last 4 years. Electricity markets have shifted towards renewables. Pricing, technology for solar power has continued to improve, while the global environment has continued to decline. The city has adopted the Climate Action Plan that calls for greater resiliency against natural disasters and sets a goal of net zero carbon emissions. We believe that these changes warrant taking a fresh look at the policy and, for the good of the community, adapting to the new situation by creating a new policy, in other words, removing the electric facilities charge. So the charge was put into place because at the time, the board believed that the city would lose, quote, revenue, unquote, because homeowners with solar were not buying as much electricity from the city since they were generating some themselves. But the 13.13 cents the city charges per kilowatt hour retail is actually mostly expense, not revenue. Every electricity bill is made up of 3 parts. Generation, that is paying the entity that is actually producing the power. Transmission, that is moving the power from wherever it's generated to the city. And delivery, that is maintaining the local grid, the poles, wires, and transformers that bring the electricity to our customers. And I have a little chart here. So like blue is generation, orange is transmission, and this smallest wedge there, that's delivery. That's the only thing, that's the only part of the electric bill that the city can claim as, quote, revenue, unquote, because the other 2 parts are expense. If a person doesn't buy any electricity, it doesn't need to be generated and it doesn't need to be transported. So rooftop solar benefits the city in many ways. It reduces expenses. Also, during periods of highest demand, typically in the middle of a hot day, in the hottest part of the summer, it reduces the amount of peak power that the city has to buy. During peak prices, the city's cost to buy electricity can increase by 10 or even 100 times. homes with solar power both supply cheap power and they reduce demand. Another benefit is that the homes with solar and battery backup can act as places of refuge during crises, during widespread power outages. After recent storms in the south, power was cut off to many homes for as much as a week. Solar homes with battery backup could provide a place where people can recharge cell phones or take refuge during disasters. So currently the city pays solar owners 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour for the excess electricity they generate. This is less than the 10.2 cents the city pays in average generation costs for its other electricity suppliers. The city then takes this cheap solar power, which does not have any transmission costs attached to it, and sells it to the other customers, sells it to our neighbors for full retail, 13.13 cents. The profit the city makes from buying cheap power and then selling it at full retail more than makes up for the lost delivery revenue. And I have a table in my thing here. I went to 3 solar homes and looked at the generation that they've had and the size of the system and the amount of money they're paying in the surcharge. And essentially, in every single case, the city makes more profit selling those panels owners' excess generation than it loses in delivery revenue. So I'll just repeat that one more time. The city makes more profit selling the excess power from these 3 systems, which have a combined, this is about 15 years worth of data for all 3 systems. The city makes more profit doing that than it loses because these people aren't buying 100% of their electricity from the city. And I could go into a little more detail about how I calculated that exactly if you want, but you can ask me when I'm done with my comments if you'd like more information. So the monthly surcharge is added on top of that profit. So the past 4 years of actual performance shows that the surcharge is not needed. There are no losses to offset. And, the larger the system, the more revenue for the city. So part of the city's limitations on system size is also hurting BG ratepayers because they could be getting this less expensive electricity from their neighbors. There is a slight cost to the city of installing a net meter. We estimate that to be about an additional $100 based on prices available on the internet. If the city were to charge solar owners a one-time fee to cover the cost of the new meter, that would not represent a significant barrier to new solar installations. So we don't have exact numbers, but according to information we've been given by the city, there are now only 9 solar installations in the entire city of 30,000 people. That may be 1 fewer than there were 4 years ago when this was put in, because at that time we were told there were about 10 systems in the city. So the addition of the electric facilities charge has discouraged new installations because with this surcharge, it's impossible for homeowners to make back the money they invest in their systems. Encouraging more solar installations by removing the surcharge would be in line with policies adopted by the council and this board in the climate resiliency plan. And we believe Bowling Green is poorer for a lack of solar panels on rooftops. And we again ask the board, to eliminate the electric facilities charge. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. Are you saying that we're talking about the e-rider, correct?
The what?
The e-rider, that's what we're talking about?
E-rider? No. No, this is the charge, the electric facilities charge that's added to the electric bills of people who have solar panels on their roof. They have to pay an added charge that no one else in the city pays.
Rick, it's referred to as Rider E.
Oh, Rider
in the schedule, yes. Rider E.
That's what we're referring to, correct?
I believe so, yes.
What he's referring to as surcharge, that's the Rider E.
Yes.
Okay, are you saying that's an impediment of people to install rooftop solars?
It absolutely is. I've talked to several people, many people that have done the math, and with the charge, it does not pay to put solar on their roof. And I think, as I said in my statement, the fact that no one has added solar in 4 years, even though the prices have come down and the practicality and the simplicity has gotten better here and in other places, many other places around the country and around the world, California, Texas, solar is being installed at amazing rates. Here in Bowling Green, it has totally stagnated.
Well, you know about electrical rates in Texas and California are among the highest in the country. You're aware of that?
Yeah, and
I mean, I
I'm,
think those are
I'm,
poor
I'm
states.
aware
I
of
don't
that,
to
and
bring them into it. That's just
and
a
that's
fact.
in Texas. The main impetus was not price. In Texas, the main impetus was the gigantic failure they had of the grid during a winter storm, where tens of thousands of people died. That's when solar installations in Texas started going through the roof, because people realized having that resiliency can be a matter of life and death. And so in California, the impetus was they do have high rates, but they also used to have a very enlightened policy that encouraged solar installations. The California Public Utilities Commission recently got rid of that, and so installations have slowed there. But what they have there, instead of a peak during the highest and hottest parts of the day, the highest demand and highest parts of the day, they actually have a trough now, because so many people have installed rooftop solar that demand actually goes down because the panels are producing so much power at that critical time. So the reason, I could go into a lot of detail about why California has such high rates. Basically, it's the Public Utilities Commission is kind of captured by the industry, and they approve almost every rate increase. Last year, PG&E made a record $2 billion profit, and part of the reason they did that is because the Utilities Commission approved a $600 million rate increase in order to try to shore up the Diablo Canyon nuclear plant. Basically, whenever PG&E or the other California utilities ask for a rate increase, they get it. And that's why rates are so high there. It's not the wind and the solar.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Michelle?
The last one we have is Jim Evans.
Name and address, if you would, please. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, Jim Evans, 203 Buttonwood Avenue. Good evening. So I wish to speak in support of removing disincentives for rooftop solar in the city of Bowling Green, and I endorse the other comments made here tonight. My own particular concern has been, as I've looked over the public record of previous Board of Public Utility meetings going back over years, the record shows basically the same people saying the same things without appreciating the enormous changes that have occurred in energy markets this past decade. I've provided you with 3 attachments, and you might want to just take that handout apart and so you can look at them individually. The first attachment is a table on 2 sides of the page that shows energy sources by state as of November 2024. While states have used different energy strategies, one theme is a significant decarbonization strategy followed by most states the past decade, and this can be summarized. There's a lot of information on that one handout, but I'll just give you a couple of summary statements from that. 14 states now get more than 20% of their electricity from wind power, in being led by Iowa at 66.5% and South Dakota at 61.1%. 10 states get more than 10% of their electricity from solar power, led by California at 32.6% and Nevada at 29.6%, so basically a third. 11 states get more than 10% of their electricity from hydroelectric, led by Washington State at 60.1% and Vermont at 55.2%. And 14 states get more than 30% of their electricity from nuclear power, led by New Hampshire at 64.7% and Illinois at 57.1%. So we're not talking about coal, we're not talking about natural gas. These are states significantly, in some cases, 2/3 of their electricity from non-carbon sources. And in contrast, it's interesting to see that 14 states now get less than 1% of their electricity from coal, and 8 states get less than 10% of their electricity from natural gas. Now, in comparison to these national averages, Ohio relies more heavily on coal and natural gas and less heavily on renewables. For example, the reliance on wind power in Ohio is much less than surrounding states. It's only 2.7%, whereas Indiana, it's 13.6%, Illinois, it's 17.1%, Michigan, 9.9%, West Virginia, 7.6%, New York State, 6.5%, although Ohio is comparable to Pennsylvania at 2.1%. Industry trade groups attribute the lesser reliance on wind power in Ohio to burdensome local regulations preventing the installation of wind farms. The second attachment answers some of the questions that Mr. Zusnik just asked a minute ago about California, and that is a set of diagrams on the second handout page showing trends in solar energy generation and demand response as of 2025. And in the state of California, the two diagrams on the left show an increase in solar energy production from 2021 to 2024, and the expansion of daily use by solar augmented by battery storage units, resulting in a reduction of the use of natural gas in California. The two diagrams on the right show the actual utility demand on two recent days, March 27th and March 28th of this year, matching energy supply by source with energy demand. The solid red line on those two diagrams on the right-hand side are energy demand. Both days show that solar plus wind plus hydro supply exceeded demand during the working day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The excess supply recharged battery storage units, which again significantly reduced the use of non-renewable energy both before and after the working day. These diagrams show us that as renewable energy expands, energy production can exceed energy demand. This concept is called stranded renewable energy. It's been an important topic recently because of the installation of large data centers. Data centers such as the one being built in BG use enormous amounts of electricity. In Albany, New York, one data center called Soluna Corporation now gets 30 to 40% of its electricity from stranded renewable energy produced by local providers, and this could be done in Bowling Green. Finally, the third diagram is again another table on two sides of the page showing solar capacity summary by state, again as of November 2024. Again, there's a lot of information here, and I'm just going to pull out a couple of facts for you to look at. Individual states had a significant increase in solar capacity during the year 2024, ranging from 2 to 100%, with a national average increase of 18.5%, and in Ohio, the increase of solar capacity was 31.2% last year. Distributed solar capacity, which is rooftop solar on individual homes or businesses, ranged from 2 to 85% last year, with a national average of 30.7% and an average in Ohio of 11.4%. And again, this number in Ohio is relatively low, and again, industry trade groups attribute this low percentage of distributed solar capacity in Ohio to burdensome local regulations like the one we're talking about today. Significant changes have occurred in the past decade in the cost of renewable energy, such as solar. In 2024, the national rate for solar was in the range of $29 to $96 per megawatt, which overlaps with the national rate of natural gas at $39 to $101 per megawatt hour. In terms of capital costs, solar panel manufacturing costs were $5 per watt output in the year 2000, but are now 25 cents per watt output in 2023. All new technology is initially expensive, less reliable, and bulky, but market forces result in new innovation and cost savings. I can tell you some of this by my own personal experience. I was one of the first civilians to own a global positioning satellite receiver back in the 1980s. That was the size and weight of a brick. You had to manually point the antenna to the area in the sky that you thought the satellites were, and you paid $2,000 for that in 1980s money. Right now, you can get something that's much more functional, fits in your shirt pocket, and costs about 2% of what I paid back in the 1980s. In summary, despite significant political differences, many red states and blue states have found ways to promote both distributed and utility-scale solar power for reasons of meeting the projected increases in electricity demand, augmenting resiliency efforts in the face of increasing extreme weather events, controlling rate markets and addressing the climate crisis. Opposing these supportable goals has been resistance to change, special interests, and lack of updated information about significant changes in energy markets. I join with those who have encouraged you to rethink the impediments placed on promoting distributed solar energy in the city of Bowling Green. I disagree with a statement that's been made that the city should not be promoting residential use of renewable energy. I think instead that people who are leaders are supposed to lead and are supposed to set laudable goals for people to follow. So I ask instead, what is the message the city of Bowling Green should be sending to this community? Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle? That's it? All right. Thank you, everybody. With that, we move into Utilities Director Report. Brian?
Okay, thank you. The first item we have for you is a discussion item, just some information that on June 12th, the City Council Committee of the Whole had a meeting to discuss additional revenue that may be necessary for governmental funded projects, capital projects. And the city administration presented a two-prong approach, so to speak, to the funding issue. The first was to request that the council approve putting a 0.15% income tax on the upcoming ballot to fund 2 fire stations and some fire equipment. And the second was to change the ordinance that would redistribute a portion of the income tax related to capital funds. Currently, the Water and Sewer Capital Improvement Fund receives 33.3% of the first 1.5% income tax. That's the way it's written in the ordinances. So when you do the math, that means that the Water Sewer Capital Improvement Fund gets 0.5% of the income tax. And just as a reminder, that fund is used for direct payment of capital projects, capital expenses, debt service payments for loans that we may get from Ohio EPA and OWDA, for the water plant, water distribution, wastewater collection, and water pollution control facility. The redistribution proposal that was presented to council is shown in the table that I provided to you in the write-up. Essentially, it would change the distribution of 0.5% to the Water and Sewer Capital Improvement Fund. It would decrease that by 0.05% for the next 3 years. And in 2028, then that percentage would be 0.35% and going forward thereafter. The change would be distributed to or put into funds called capital improvement and street repair. And those are governmental funds or non-utility capital funds that the city would use then for other capital projects, deferred maintenance on buildings, roads, other things that they need to pay for their capital needs. The other funds that receive income tax would not change, so I only gave you the breakdown of those that were being decreased and those that were being increased. If the income tax distribution changes from 0.5 to 0.35%, the next table in the write-up shows you what the revenue impact is to the Water and Sewer Capital Improvement Fund. So from 2025, the budget amount was $6.7 million. And if that decreases down to 0.35% in 2028, that revenue would be estimated to be $4.7 million. And that assumes that there's no change in income tax collections from the 2025 budget. That doesn't typically the income tax collections go up some amount each year, but this is assuming that it's stagnant. So that means that the difference is basically about $2 million of revenue that would be moved from the Water Sewer Capital Improvement Fund into those other 2 governmental capital funds. And looking back at our past projects and expenses that we've had over the last 5, maybe 7 years, I've estimated that we would need to collect at least $1.5 million in some money from water and sewer rates to maintain the same level of service and the same level of projects that we've done over the past, again, 5 to 7 years. We would need to be in about that $1.5 million range. Assuming that fund was used roughly 50% for both water and wastewater projects, that would mean that the water rate revenue from water rates would have to increase by $750,000, and the sewer rates equally would also have to increase by $750,000. That's over the extent of the 3 years. So by the end of the third year, that's how much money we would have to be bringing in. You're just doing some quick estimates. The water rate adjustments would be about 5% per year for a total of 15% total. And the sewer rate adjustments would be about 4.7% per year, roughly 14% total over those 3 years. Looking at what that means for a residential customer, like what is a residential bill in each of those years, I gave you a table in the write-up as well that shows in 2025, assuming it's 500 cubic feet of usage, the water bill right now would be $13.70, and the sewer bill would be $23.25. And in 2028, that would go up to $15.80 and $26.55 for both water and sewer charges. So it's for water, it's a 70-cent increase each year. So a total of over 3 years would be $2.10 on a residential bill. And for sewer, it would be $1.10 increase per year for a total of $3.30 total for those 3 years. Now, those adjustments don't include any need for additional revenue that may be due to other expenses, operating expenses, such as labor, equipment, inventory, materials, maintenance, those types of things. That would just be to replace the 1.5 million roughly to keep our current level of project replacements and capital projects going forward. I've also, again, not done a detailed breakdown on what percentage of the water and sewer capital improvement fund is split between water projects and wastewater projects or sewer projects. And so, again, I've assumed that's a 50% split each way. We try to balance it as much as possible in that fund, and you see that in our budget requests each year, that we try to ensure that the priorities of each of those divisions is being met in that year, and that the money is being spread roughly evenly between water and wastewater projects. As a comparison, I did go online to try to find other communities' water and sewer rates to see what do they pay. And so what I could find online is what I put in this final table here for you, looking at for Bowling Green and for our 25 rates, the total water and sewer bill would be about $37. I've listed out Findlay, Perrysburg, Defiance, Maumee, and Napoleon in order of increasing magnitude of their total water and sewer bills. Findlay was the next closest to us. Again, we were at 37, so Findlay was at about $54, a little over $54, and up to the highest of being at Napoleon of $147. So there is quite a difference between what our current water and sewer rates are compared to other communities. I would say most communities probably do not have a portion of their income tax that goes to the Water and Sewer Capital Improvement Fund or other water and sewer types of projects like that. The only one I was able to find was the city of Oregon, Ohio. They do take a portion of their income tax and they use it for debt payments of debt service payments for loans that they may have gotten, similar to what we do with Ohio EPA or OWDA loans for their projects. But there is a provision in their rate ordinances that says if that allocation of income tax money isn't used for that purpose, that they will then charge their residents or charge their customers to replace that revenue that wasn't allocated from the income tax. So they do have a backstop in their rate structure that they could collect that money to make sure that debt service payment is being met, because that is a priority and something you cannot default on. So again, this is nothing being requested from you today. Again, it was presented at City Council's meeting on June 12th. So we wanted to have some time to show this to the board and get you thinking about this. If City Council does pass the ordinance to redistribute the income tax, then I would expect at some point after that, I would come back to the board and we'd have discussions about rate adjustments for water and sewer. What does that mean? We likely would be looking to, at some point, have a cost of service study done by a consultant. Typically, we use Courtney and Associates. They do most of our water and sewer rate calculations for cost of service studies. So we probably would look to utilize them again. And these dollars would be included in that rate study to say how much money do we want to collect in rate money to pay for capital projects, that would be part of their calculation to make sure that we're charging residential, commercial, and industrial customers appropriately based on the demands that they're requiring or asking of the service. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, or
Brian, in the past, we've participated in some larger funding of large projects amongst the community, and water and sewer capital improvement often leads the charge. Is the assumption that most of that will fall to the other funds in the future, and that we will participate less in those projects as that burden's kind of shifted to the from the taxpayer?
Yeah, I think I've talked with Lori about that a little bit, and I think that was part of the concept was that there'd be more funds on the governmental side to help pay for some of those projects, like for example, the work that's been done in the business parks and Woodbridge. A lot of that was the 4017 or the Water Sewer Capital Improvement Fund. And so if there is money available, say in the street repair fund or in the other capital funds, then we would partner together more closely or on those projects with these different fund distributions for the portions that are maybe theirs and the portions that are ours. I think that was the general idea.
And it's kind of it's a healthy fund. So I know that when there's shortages elsewhere, we've also leaned on this as well. So our budgeting will have to be more intact to keep the utility as strong as it has been and be able to keep our rates low. I think is important. And as that transition happens, I think our folks in city council and city government are going to see that change here from the utilities as well.
Yeah, and we'll have to be a little more diligent too about the budgeting process, because the Water Sewer Capital Improvement Fund was very flexible in that you could utilize that money for both water and wastewater. But given that our rate money that is collected from customers goes into those enterprise funds, into the water revenue fund and the wastewater revenue fund, money that's brought in from wastewater charges or services or bills can't be used in water. And the same thing for water. Money that's brought in from water can't be used in wastewater. And so we'll have to be more diligent about making sure that the projects we're budgeting for, there's going to be revenue to pay for those projects in water and wastewater equally. There was definitely it was nice having the ability to use the money where the priority was. And so if wastewater needed a little bit more, the income tax gave us that flexibility. But we'll have to be, and there's still going to be, a little over $4 million of money that's going to be collected.
Sure, we're not depleting it completely.
Not depleting it completely. And I think if you look at the pie chart that was presented by Dana, Dana Pinkert, the finance director, it does show that the Water Sewer Capital Improvement Fund has been receiving a large majority of the capital dollars over the past, since 1970, whenever this was put in
50-some
place,
years.
a very long time. So I think it's served the city well, and the same philosophy, I think, is being held to continue to put money into the Water and Sewer Capital Improvement Fund to make sure that the water and sewer utilities are being maintained and being held. But the needs of the governmental side has not gone down. Those have continued to go up. Like our projects, costs have gone up. Their projects are seeing the same thing. And so it's probably the right time to be looking at this and saying, does this distribution make the most sense for the city, and how do we balance it to make sure that all needs are being met? And I think this is a way that they've tried to come together. And again, if we don't have the additional rate money, that is going to greatly impact our ability to do projects. And as I'll talk about capital projects here in a little bit, you see there's some large dollar amounts that these projects cost. So, not cheap.
I commend both you and Lori for being diligent and going through this process. I mean, there are larger needs that the community needs, and I think that was considered when presenting this. So, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions on that front? If not,
Okay. If you think of anything in the future, again, be happy to answer any questions, or shoot me an email, or we can talk about it at a future meeting. So thank you. Next one I have is also just an update. No action from the board on this one. Just updating our capital projects. So the Ohio EPA did have their Drinking Water Assistance Fund. It's the WSRLA. It's called Water Supply Revolving Loan Account. We did nominate 6 projects for possible loans. The 6 projects listed there in the write-up. These are dollars or loan money that would be available from July 1st of 25 through June 30th of 2026. I'm sorry, on my write-up I said 25, but it should be 26. Sorry about that. So it goes off the half year. Wastewater money is available on the calendar year, so it's January through December. But the nomination process does not, it guarantees the money is available if we need it and if we make an application for it, but it doesn't give us the right to go forward with the project. So the board still has to approve the agreement to sign the loan. And so we would come back to you if needed. Some of these we've already done. I think like the Carter Park and Western Water Tower improvements, we already received an ordinance through the board and through City Council to sign a loan agreement for that. So there's still another step in the process to actually borrow the money to do the project, but it just kind of reserves the money if it's there if we need it. So that was submitted, and the draft just came out I think late last week, and maybe 2 weeks ago. And we were on the list. All 6 projects got funded. It's very rare that any project would not be funded through this process, given that it's a loan. You're going to, if you don't qualify for discounts or principal forgiveness, you're going to pay the money back to them. And so it's a revolving loan account. So the money we pay back in goes into the fund that we then get back in the future. So there is interest payments as part of these. Not terrible. They're in the maybe 3 to 4% range at this point in time, I think. We've had better in the future. Sometimes we get 0% interest off these projects if there certain requirements are met. We don't meet those very often, but sometimes we do. We try to take advantage of those as much as possible. At the water plant, the low service pump station number 1, that is scheduled to begin here in the third quarter of 2025. We had a pre-construction meeting. Peterson Construction was awarded that contract. You're going to hear that name quite a bit today. The membrane expansion work is ongoing. Kimley Horn is our engineer for that project. It's in design right now, so we're about getting close to a 30% design review meeting with them. Design will likely take most of 2025 to complete, getting the plans and specifications together to fill that building up with the new membrane equipment. The clarifier improvements on the conventional plant side, we did select Jones and Henry for the engineering work that needs to be done. We are currently negotiating the contract with them at this time. And then for the reservoir study, a company called Geosyntec Consultants out of Cincinnati was selected as the most qualified engineering firm for that, and we're currently negotiating a contract with them as well. On distribution and wastewater collection, water distribution and wastewater collection, the Park Avenue water line, this is over by BGSU's new engineering and technology buildings. We did open bids in late May, and Hillebrand Construction was a low bidder at $660,000 for that project. Work is scheduled to be completed before August 25th. That's when, before the university students come back, so we're hopeful that's going to happen, but right now, with the ordering of materials and deliveries, it may slip a little bit. The village pump station, we are in discussion with the school about an additional easement. Right now, it looks like the area that we need is relatively small, but we'll be able to build the pump station in an area that is not going to be utilized by the high school with their expansion. It's adjacent to a stormwater detention pond, and they have no plans for that northwest corner that the pump station would sit in. It would allow us to keep our current pump station in operation, build a new one, and then demo out the original one. So that should be coming up here soon. At Water Pollution Control Facility, the Poe Mercer Odor Control Project, we had one bid for that. Peterson Construction also got that project. That came in at about $1.5 million. The final clarifier improvements project at the wastewater plant, we did open bids in late May. Peterson Construction was also the low bidder for that project. We had 3 other bidders. Mosier was very close, but they missed it. That project is $10.1 million. We're in the process of getting our Ohio EPA loan agreements are being finalized and getting those completed, so we have the money to build the project. The UV system upgrades at the waste plant, we've ordered the equipment, and staff will be installing that equipment here later in 2025. There's two channels that go through that disinfection building, and this will do this work will do the UV upgrades in one of those channels. So in 2026, we'll be looking to do the same thing, to purchase the equipment and have staff install that equipment next year. And then we've got some screen replacements to be done at the septage receiving station at the plant, and also down at the Poe Mercer pump station. Some screens there need to be addressed. We have hired Jones and Henry Engineering as our consultant, most qualified consultant to put those plans together for us. We are getting some site visits together from other facilities to see what their equipment looks like right now, and to see which piece of equipment we may prefer for those two places. Electric, the ball field lights at Carter Park are installed and working. There's just a few punch list items to be finalized, some groundwork to be completed. The pickleball courts, electric was going to be helping with the lighting out there as well. It's been paved and work should be wrapping up here in 2025. You may have seen the downtown decorative light poles being painted and being freshened up a little bit. That work is ongoing. Should be done here this year. We did have a pretty favorable bid prices for that project, and so we are looking to do a change order to add the light poles and the fixtures in the parking lots behind Main Street. And then the Northern Circuit improvements, this is, again, trying to extend the circuit up to Route 25 to provide a loop service for some customers up there at 582. Mostly design is complete at this point, so we're finalizing an easement that's needed from a property owner in the Route 25 and 582 area. So we're getting close to that being completed. And that is all I have. Unless Jim wants to talk about any other capital projects that he was off last week, so he didn't have any items for this week's
Nail him with the
agenda,
questions. No questions.
Any
you.
questions for Brian? If not, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Assistant Utilities Direct Report. Jim, anything for us? Joe, you were a week off last week? All right, thank you. Management reports, electric.
Yeah, currently we have crew replacing poles on Klotz Road for fiber optic clearances. The other crew is performing general maintenance right now, house services and miscellaneous outages when they come about. So that's where we're at right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Water supply.
We had a masonry project on some of the buildings that's taken care of, and the low service project Brian mentioned is going to start August 1st.
Excellent, thank you. Wastewater collection.
Yeah, Mike is not here today.
Got it.
And before you get to the next one, I would like to just make a comment about water pollution control. So John Bella, our longtime employee out at the waste plant, he had retired at the end of May, so he's not here for today's meeting, and I think see, I'm not sure you've been updated on that just yet or not, but Brad Tussing is here. He's our acting superintendent. He was the assistant superintendent out there under John for a couple of years, and so Brad was promoted. And so you don't see John, unfortunately, anymore, but the good news is Brad is here to fill his shoes and doing a great job, so
Congrats.
sorry.
Excellent, well, congrats, Brad. You got anything for us tonight?
Staff's just doing preventative maintenance, and we are currently in the process of painting some mixer huts at our Poe and Mercer lift station. And we're doing some work with our DI water filtration system for our laboratory.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you. Business office, Jackie.
We are working with the auditors on 2024 statements, and also have done some financial reporting for OWDA and the Department of Energy.
All right, thank you. Official reports, Mr. Mayor, I don't see him. Excuse me. Administrator Lori.
We just want to, say a thank you to particularly the electric division. As we know, there was a large storm that came through last week, did impact folks, and as always, the professionalism, the quick response, the reliability to get folks back in that terrible situation. We really appreciate it, Matt, and this is here too, and Public Works, of course. Yeah, as well. Great when we're all able to work together. Just proud of our colleagues.
Absolutely. Seconded. Let's see, attorney, Public Works, Mick.
Crews are picking up brush this week. We had a special collection because of the storm. We had crews out back building cuts, asphalt, and concrete work. As far as the downtown pole painting goes, we're hopefully tomorrow we can swap out some banners and get some banners that will take down back up and all the rest.
Excellent. Thank you. Engineering, Brad.
Nothing on capital projects, but I just wanted to introduce, we hired a capital projects manager, Kyle Rugemeyer. He's the estimator. He grew up here locally. He got him from an engineering firm in Toledo. He's been 18 years there. So we're happy to have him on board.
Excellent. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Comms, Amanda.
Sure. I reported at the last meeting that Hallie Williams has moved on to the downtown director position. Happy to report that we received 200 applications for the community affairs coordinator posting, so that was a shock and also really thrilled to see that. We did select someone who will start July 14th. Her name is Madison. She goes by Maddie. Currently Kriegel, but either getting or has been married this month, so it'll be Maddie Kristoff by the time she starts on the 14th. She comes to us again, also a local person with a degree in journalism and has been working for the city of Dublin in their communications department for about 3 years. So we're pretty excited for her to start as well. As mentioned earlier in lobby visitation, council did adopt the Climate Action and Resiliency Improvement Plan by resolution at their last meeting. We've updated the website to reflect this, and we're looking into some type of dashboard or reporting feature to track progress as the city moves on some of the items in that plan. Also, Rachel kicked out quite a bit of information related to the community energy savings days related to the heat that we're anticipating for the majority of this week. So that's always a bit confusing for residents. We try to explain it in the press release and some of our posts, but if you get any feedback from that, we'd appreciate that so we can try to address it. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilman reports.
First, the opportunity to speak to you all. I always want to make sure I thank you for all the work that you do. It's very helpful, and I'm also want to let you know that there is a Transportation and Safety Committee meeting a week from today. I hate to take up your fifth Monday, but it's a week from today at 6 o'clock here, and we will be talking about several aspects related to what Brian had mentioned earlier of reallocating the 1.5% of the income tax and possibly upgrading the safety facilities. So it's transportation, because the reallocation can impact street repair and sidewalk repair. And safety, of course, the facilities. I would very much love it if you all would attend and speak. I cannot imagine a major change like this occurring without significant impact from the Board of Public Utilities. I have the advantage of perspective that making a change to the allocation every half century or so is not a trivial thing and should be arrived at with the expertise that the administration has put forth, public input, city council input, and Board of Public Utility input. So we're all partners in this, and I'd encourage you to come to the meeting. If there's anything that you would like to convey to me, please let me know. I can't imagine making decisions without input from you. So thank you very much. And just as an aside, I have a drink in the back. And if we had a drinking game where every time a lobby visitor said the solar P word, I didn't hear it at all. So there has been progress over time. And I appreciate the chance that the community has to have the dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any board member reports? Any new business? Any unfinished business, old business? Any motions to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Properly moved and seconded. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.